What are we talking about today?
Here we are. We're going to talk about the most iconic brand in the whole of music, really.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's up there: Gibson, Fender, and Marshall. Really, it doesn't come any more iconic than that. The writing is instantly recognisable. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about the sound, which is what is there, sort of
from amps to fridges.
From amps to fridges, yeah.
It's
Somewhere to hang your car keys.
It's the only amplifier manufacturer that you see people walking around with Marshall on the t-shirt, and they clearly never picked up a guitar in their life. You know.
Well, I think a lot of that's got to do with it goes right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Really,
It does.
It goes right back with as you said, Fender and Gibson. They were at the start, and they're now.
Yep.
You know,
it's an institution.
An institution. That's it. Yeah.
Well, we've always used Marshalls.
Yeah.
We love them to bits. What drew you to Marshall in the first place, Steve?
Well, my dad always had an 800. That was his bedroom amp that I don't think he ever had serviced in the 30 odd years he had it. And he eventually got it serviced when I started playing, and then thought he could play at the same volume he'd been playing it for 30 years, not realising that none of the valves were working.
Oh, bloody hell.
So in his bedroom, he put it right back up to full. Well, Dave said it was a hell of a lot louder than it was.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the iconic Marshall sound. It is widely regarded as the sound of rock, isn't it? I think anybody who's picked up a guitar at one time or another has played through or has owned a Marshall.
They only came about because people had a sound in their head, but they couldn't get it.
Right.
Because all that was available for this was sort of like your little Selmer amps, Vox, and Fenders.
Right.
Which, they were very good, but they stayed too clean because Leo Fender had this thing for amplifiers must be clean.
Right.
We don't want distortion, because if there was distortion in any of his models, they'd go back and redesign it and
get rid of distortion.
Because it was seen as a flaw.
Right.
It was seen as a flaw in the design if it broke up.
Right.
Whereas it was like Pete Townsend and Richie Blackmore going to Jim Marshall's shop, saying, "Oh, we've got these Basemans, but it's not quite the sound we want." They were getting close because they had like fuzz boxes, but it wasn't the sound.
The sound they wanted.
So Jim Marshall and his engineer started tinkering about with the Baseman, and it broke. It started distorting.
Right.
Basically, they undid what Leo Fender probably didn't like about it.
And achieved what everyone wanted.
Because they could only use English bits from old radios. They couldn't get hold of the American stuff. And that's what made it break up a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. You have a bass, man. Yeah.
I have a super bass, which is as close, really, as to a Fender Bassman as Marshall ever made.
Right.
It's just a clean amp. There's just 2 channels and no master volume, so you can't get any distortion out of it.
Okay.
And it's loud as balls.
Yeah. Because you used that on the Skinner tour, didn't you?
I blended the 2 sounds together on stage, but it was only that one mic'd up.
Right.
But it was scaring the absolute hell out of me with how loud it was. Because I didn't have an attenuator then.
Right.
If you can't do it in an arena.
I just played it.
Yeah.
Well, it brought up on that thing. It's like, that used to be the standard. That used to be the norm. A non-master volume heads at 100 watt. And I only had that on 3 and the entire Skinner tour. It was scaring me.
Yeah. Insane.
It was scaring me.
For me, it just sits where a guitar should sit in the context of a loud rock, of a loud band.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's on your own in the bedroom. It might sound good, but then you think, it could do with a bit more bottom end, or it could do with a bit more of this and that. But they just naturally fill that place in the live arena.
And let's be honest, there's no greater sight, is there, than a wall of Marshall cabs. They've absolutely made it. I don't know, there's something about the way they're designed. They stand out a mile. No other cabs I've ever seen look quite as good as them in a row.
Yeah,
on a big stage with the big white badges on.
Yeah. So good that there's companies out there that make fake like front plates, don't they?
Yes.
And I don't know anyone who makes any kind of like fake front plate of any other sort of amp.
No, that's it, exactly, yeah. So. Yeah, just for Marshalls. It's so iconic.
Right then, we've got the collection here.
I think we've got one from every decade, haven't we?
One from every decade, apart from were they around in the 60s?
They were.
Don't start.
I haven't got one from the 60s.
No,
call yourself a collector. Yeah?
Okay, let's make some noise.
Let's make some noise!
Behold.
There's just a few of them.
The Temple of Hull.
This is Stevie's live rig at the moment, isn't it?
Yep, this is what I typically use.
So that's the JMPs, which are 70s, aren't they? What year are they specifically?
The 70s design, but they're both 1980. That's actually my father's that I took to the studio. That's an 81 800, so that's 80s. And that's a 94 JCM 900. That was my first ever valve amp, and it served me well until I got this.
So we've got 70s, 80s, and the 90s. I've got the 2000s covered, don't you worry.
We're saving that.
We're saving that one for last.
Save that for last. So there's going to be no messing around here. It's going to be guitar straight into each one of these in turn, and then it's going to come straight out of there into this cab over here, mic'd up with the Sennheiser E906 straight into Pro Tools. And that's it really, and we're going to listen to the sexy noises it makes. What speakers are in this cab?
25 watt Greenback Celestians.
25 watt Greenback Celestians. And how old are they?
They're not that old.
Are they
That's
not?
a new cab.
Oh.
That's the 68. I've got 60s Marshall. There we go, that one.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, we do have
Cab.
60s. That's a 60s cab, a genuine 60s.
It looks like it's from the 60s as well.
It does, but that's
I don't know
probably
where
from
that's
the
from.
90s. What's setting the tea then? So we're literally almost.
I've just put everything up.
Everything's almost pointing up.
Yeah, everything's pointing up apart from the volume because that will kill everyone.
That is Angus, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is
that's straight up that.
That is fucking. That is Angus, isn't
You
it?
can just roll back just a little bit.
It probably sounds so much like him that we're going to get copyright infringement on this video. So there goes our monetising. There goes
So
our
I'm
advert.
tuned down. It won't pick it up. It's tuned down.
There goes our £7 a month.
Just for sake of hearing it just slightly differently. You've got high and low sensitivity as well, so you've got.
So that was the high. This is the low.
It goes from being that massive rock tone
Yeah,
to
yeah. That's very versatile.
funkalicious.
Who says they can't do jazz?
See, so it just takes straight off like
That
that.
raw power. That.
Right, should we move on to the 80s?
Who we got in the 80s then? What big? So in the 70s, the big Marshall, the 60s, the big Marshall guys was Jimmy, wasn't he really?
I know Blackmore was always Marshall, wasn't he?
He was Marshall throughout all the rainbow and purple eras. So
In the 70s, we'll have had DC and Deep Purple. By the 80s, who the big Marshall? Get the big Marshall guys in the 80s.
Scorpions.
Judas Priest.
We can do our German accents
Priest,
again.
yeah.
Judas Priest.
Can we do one video where we don't mention the Scorpions?
I've got a Scorpions album cover. It's great. Would you like to see it?
Kiss used them a lot at I Made Them. Basically, every band that had an MTV music video was using Marshall.
There you go. I mean, that tells its own story, doesn't it? Those bands straight away. I mean, that's incredible.
Right, so here we go then. JCM 800.
Bit of scratchy pot, that's vintage that.
Scratchy pot. So instantly you can hear
Yeah.
it's got more.
More high-end punch.
Yeah, it's a
not-
lot brighter in it.
It's not
Deep,
quite
gritty
got the
bottom tone,
holes,
yeah.
has it?
Got a little bit more clarity for those lead kind of
Yeah.
riffs.
What's in the box?
Put the strings on.
So what are they? What are them pickups?
Stock Gibson 498s. They must be good ones.
Name that riff. Yeah, cool.
There's plenty. There's a lot more clean with a little bit of that grip when you hit the guitar that little bit harder.
The 90s.
The 90s.
God bless Wonderwall.
That's some wonderful. I have a soft spot for these amps. I know they get a bit of a bad rap.
They get a really bad rep, but I like them.
Yeah, they're angry.
The 50s sound better than the 100s, I'll say that.
So this is a 50 watt JCM 900. I guess the year's less relevant with these because
A little bit less relevant. There's 3 or 4 different versions of it.
right.
What were they trying to? I mean, as somebody who doesn't, I'm not a guitar player again. I've said that before. But what were they trying to achieve with the 900? Was the 900 supposed to be a follow-on from the 800, or is it a completely different amp in its own right? Do you know what I mean? Was the 800 something they retired and then brought the 900 out, or was it?
Has this got diode clipping?
This has got diode clipping in it.
Right.
Channel B was meant to sort of try and rival the Mesa Boogie that was trying to come through at the time.
Right, I see.
So channel A on this is the clean channel. But if you put the preamp all the way up full, it just sounds like an 800 just starting to get rolling. Channel B on this. Well, what's it? The lead gain goes to 20. Everything else goes to 10 and the lead gain goes to 20.
Of course it does.
Right, I'll fire it up.
900.
Get everything just pretty much where it should be.
Reverb. It's got inbuilt reverb as well.
Inbuilt reverb as well, so I'll do it without reverb first, then I'll add it.
So that's a clean channel.
So it doesn't sound like much, but if you put in a little bit of reverb.
They're just great jobbing amps, I find. They're like...
They do a bit of this, that and everything.
Are they renowned for being durable, you know? Or, I
Um,
mean, I imagine that's a good reason you would choose one, because you don't want it to break down on the road.
Never had any problems with that one. No idea what the fella did to that one before I got it.
Right.
But just to say how good a workhorse they are, my other JMP, another Super Lead, when I sent that down to Marshall to be fixed, I was still getting sound out of it. I thought there was only one thing wrong with it. They told me only one preamp valve was working and none of the power amp valves.
All right.
I was still getting sound out of it.
There's actually not many components when
Yeah.
you look inside these Marshalls, and it's particularly the old ones.
This got a PCB board in it, but I think it was 78 they switched to that. Before that, you just opened it, it was just pots.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Point to point.
point to point, hardwired, you know.
All right, then let's say this thing fired up on channel B.
Give it some beans.
Channel bastard.
B for bastard.
Pop pump
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because this is what all those guys were using. So if you just back off the little bit of gain away.
Yes.
You know, that's the sound of the 90s pop punk
Absolutely.
and everything around there. Because they got a little bit of a bad rep later on, but they were riding the wave of the reputation of the 800.
Right. He's a big,
So
big
when-
shooter for that, then.
Yeah, so when this came out, everyone was like, oh, it's a new model, it must be. So
Yeah.
you know, the market got flooded with it.
Give us some Oasis. But you've got to know some Oasis. You know anything else?
I don't actually.
No, my dreams are shattered.
So yeah, there we go.
Wonderhall.
Wonderhall. Oh, good.
I mean, what's it? We've got one last one if people just want to hear how scarily loud these things actually are.
Go with them.
I can do the hum test with the attenuator.
Go on then.
I've got an attenuator here that hasn't been attenuating anything else, but it has got to attenuate that, otherwise everyone in the room will die. So everyone that's been stood at the front of gigs when I've been using that one, you can thank this little box for you to actually have your hearing.
Go on then.
It's just,
fire it up.
I just like to do the hiss test every now and then.
That Marshall that you used to have was the loudest thing I've ever heard. The Inver
Oh, the Malmsteen.
thing. I remember you had it set up and I stood half the room away and you had it at half.
Yeah,
And it was
they were
like,
deafening.
Please turn it off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna vomit.
one model that we haven't really got to sort of compare is the 1959s.
Oh, the 59. To be fair, I think it's a couple of caps off being a Super Lead Plexi.
That was it, Super Lead Plexi. So I had for a time I had a Yngwie Malmsteen 1959, his signature model, 100 watt, and it was just too much just couldn't. It was unusable.
It was unusable.
It had a built-in attenuator, which wasn't the best, to be honest. But I could not play it anywhere. At the time, we weren't playing.
But it was, I thought, the most original sounding, and that was the sound of vinyl. Those bands.
Yeah.
When you just stood and played that amp, it was like that's the sound. That I've heard that sound on records. It was like so authentic sounding.
Very sorely tempted to get a 50 watt, the 1987 Plexi. They've reissued them, and they do a 50 watt version of them, and I think that's slightly more manageable. And I've used them in backlines that we've done at gigs before, and I was sort of used one of them for a gig, and it was incredible. There we go. Steve's going to blow the. What amp are we using here then?
We're using this 1980 Super Bass, which was unchanged from about 68 onwards because it was a bass amp, so nobody really cared.
So this one's got the jumper.
So it's got 4 inputs, 2 on each one, so you can jump the 2, and then the volume 2 basically becomes like an extra bass input.
It's definitely got a low end thump.
Yeah, and that's yet again that's everything just up to 12.
Okay, and this is going through the 2 notes attenuator.
Yep. So it's got a minus 20 dB and a through. So a through doesn't take any volume off whatsoever. So that's the guitar straight through like that.
Without changing anything on the amp.
Oh, mommy, my pants! My pants!
So, yeah. So I rarely play any more than one note.
Well, we've got to give us one A chord.
One A. Should we get earplugs for this really?
Nah, fucking go on.
Good lord.
Crikey O'Reilly.
That's why we pointed the cab that way.
Go on, turn that off. Turn that out.
Insane. I've got to check this microphone's alright. Right then, so that's it then. We've had a comprehensive run through. Well, not quite comprehensive, but a good.
We're just missing the 2000s.
We're just missing the 2.
Oh, did somebody say the 2000s? This is the special edition Fingers Fill model, straight out the factory. It comes in a one-off white paint
One
scheme.
layer.
What happened?
One layer
What happened was
primer.
the person before it, for some reason, had sanded all the paint off and they'd taken the tolex off. And I'd just finished my kitchen. So I had a bit of white paint left, a bit of undercoat, and I thought, well, I had a white cab at the time. I was like, I look great, you know, rather than re-tolex it. That's expensive work.
Well, the fact
you
you painted the grill on the top as well.
Oh yeah, I got painted the grill. Yeah. This is a vintage modern. It's got to be late 2000s, isn't it?
2007ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a 100 watt.
I just hoovered that floor.
We're gonna have to do it again. This model has a series effects loop. No, it has a parallel effects loop. So any kind of boost that you want to put, that's the point where you want to take the signal, make it a bit louder before the preamp. But because it's not in series, it's parallel. You were boosting the parallel path, and that didn't really hit the power tubes as hard as you wanted to. So it had to go. Some switches there, I'm not quite sure what they do.
To me, that one sounds the most like that one than any of the other ones.
Like the JMP.
Like the JMP, like the DC.
I think that's what Ben said they were sort of going for, like controllable J&P tone with flexibility. Because of course they sound good, but they're not exactly very flexible. Flexible in terms of hitting the front end of them. Whereas these were designed to take pedals a lot better.
Also, if you crank these two, which I'm not quite sure what they do, but then you have a mid boost switch, which just cranks it into like.
big boost, you know, just more middling, funnily enough.
What do you make your frets out of?
This really needs refretting. Oh, I see what you mean. It's tungsten, yeah.
So, what's your favourite?
What?
Pardon? Oh, wait.
Did you plan that?
No.
Pair of saddos. It's a fair assumption that the JMPs are your baby, isn't it? Really?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'd say of all the ones we played, then I think the 800 is more my thing really. That's my.
Have you ever had an 800?
It's the one Marshall I've never owned. No, I've never owned an 800.
Right.
So an 800 is the only thing I've never owned, but it's always the one that I play and think, bloody hell, I need to get one of these.
Yeah.
Really.
You've said that quite a lot.
Yeah. Towards the late 80s, there was a few variations.
I've played
Like Schenker likes those 2210s?
2210s, yeah, the twin channel one.
Yeah.
Which they've got diode clipping in as well. I think they were the first Marshall amps.
In fact, no, the Jubilee took from them, the
Right,
diode clipping.
yeah.
So 900s get a hell of a lot of stick for having diodes, and people then worship silver Jubilees.
Yeah, and then they'll happily stick a tube screamer in front of it
Yeah.
as well, you know. Where are the valves in the tube screamer, mate? Yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah. Good advert for 2 notes attenuators anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, just to cover it, if anybody does not know what an attenuator does, it enables you to get all the effect of a full volume amplifier and you can still control the sound. That's essentially what it
Yeah,
does for all
it basically takes the energy coming through from the amp and transfers it to heat, which is why there's a fan that smells like fish fingers on the back of it.
I thought it was you.
Take your word for that, Steve.
Yeah, and then just puts out a lower watch. So that
Right.
drops it by 20 dB. And if anyone doesn't know how dB works, 6 is either double or half of what the previous 6 was.
That's disputed now. Apparently.
Is that disputed
That
now?
is disputed, yeah. But
That's another video.
it's another video. So yeah, that was Marshall. We love
Yeah.
him, and that was just the heads really. We haven't touched on the cabs as well, which is like half of the sound,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
Yeah. How can all those famous people be wrong? The
Exactly.
biggest bands in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Cheers, Jim.